in the magenta players. You guys remember me talking about this last year? We had, I think it was 7 or 8 players that were highlighted in magenta. And it was like, okay, these are the guys that if I had to put my money on it, these are probably the guys the Packers are really looking to draft. Doesn't mean the board's going to fall just right, but expect a good portion of these players. There ended up being 2 of those 7 or 8 players that actually got drafted by the Packers, Tyron Hopper and Katano Ladapo. Now, what I did today was I took a little bit of time as we were rained out earlier today from work, and I said, let me try to vocalize. Let me try to put this in article form, explain to people how we came up with that and take it one step further this year if we can. I just put prime for the picking. So the Packers find talent at the Senior Bowl. The Green Bay Packers have a knack for spotting talent in the Reese's Senior Bowl, an annual showcase for top college football prospects.
Say Reese's?
Yeah, that's how I say it. Do you say Reese's?
Reese's.
Yeah. We down here we say Reese's. So yeah. Just like I've heard people say coyotes. I'm like, what the hell's a coyote? We call them coyotes. What are we doing here? So what do y'all call coyotes up there?
Coyotes.
Coyote.
Okay.
Oh,
see,
well, here we go.
I'm telling you. I love how Jacob's always the first person to go, did you say it? Did you say his name like that? And then he's the one that's in the minority here. But anyway.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
All right. So in recent years, the Packers have leaned heavily on Mobile, Alabama event to bolster their roster. Last year alone, 8 Packer draft picks, so there it was, in 2024 had Senior Bowl experience, highlighting the team's trust in the event's competitive environment. With the 2025 NFL Draft approaching, hosted in Green Bay this time, Packers fans can expect their team to keep mining the Senior Bowl for future contributors. So here were our draft picks last year. Look at how many of them were at the Senior Bowl, guys. Literally all but 3, and one of them was Edgerrin Cooper, who was at the East-West Shrine game.
Here's a guy.
So the players
that why Glover was no good. Sorry, Amelia.
Exactly.
That's fired.
Our draft picks last year, Jordan Morgan with the 25th pick, he was at the Senior Bowl. Edgerrin Cooper, the 45th pick, East-West Shrine Bowl. 58th pick, Javon Bullard, Senior Bowl. Marshawn Lloyd, 88th pick, Senior Bowl. Tyron Hopper, 91st pick, Senior Bowl. Evan Williams, 111, Senior Bowl. 163, Jacob Monk, to the best of my knowledge, was not at the Senior Bowl. He was at some kind of like Carolina All-Star game or something was the only thing I could find on him. Then Katano Ladapo at 169. He was a Senior Bowl participant. Travis Glover, Emilio's man there, he was not. And then Michael Pratt was at the Senior Bowl. We drafted him at 245. And then Kalen King at 255. He was at the Senior Bowl. So, again, that's what? 1, 2, I think we said 8. Is that right? 8 players of our whatever it was, 11 picks last year were all Senior Bowl participants. Now, identifying Packer types in the draft. In 2024, we successfully narrowed the field down to 7 players who fit the Green Bay Packers draft profile, 2 of whom the Packers ultimately selected, those 2 being Tyron Hopper, 3rd rounder, and Katano Ladapo in the 5th round. This year, we'll create a similar short list of prospects. The criteria are straightforward. Each player must meet the Packers' athletic threshold, and that's the element I'm going to add in this year to kind of narrow it down a little bit more if we can. Players with incomplete athletic profiles but not yet disqualified will be included. Let me explain what that means. We now have the heart emojis, the heart eye emoji updated on the draft board. Anybody who has that heart eye emoji, they have not been disqualified by the Packers athletic threshold. And the key, like if you go to like one of my favorite draft guides every year is Packer Report. They do an excellent job with this. They've got the guys narrowed down there like best fits, some that are still, kind of medium fits, and then others that haven't been disqualified because they're lacking the measurements, right? They didn't do the complete testing. So I say leave all of those guys on the list just to make sure, all right? So I just wanted to point that out. Now, they must have attended the Reese's Senior Bowl and must have been a top 30 pre-draft visit with the Packers. With the 2025 draft approaching, hosted in Green Bay this time, we'll use these filters to pinpoint potential targets, building on the team's proven strategy of valuing Senior Bowl standouts who align with their athletic preferences. So what we did was we took the board here and we went ahead and identified those players that meet the criteria so far, okay? So obviously the top 30 visits is going to really narrow that down. So there's your top 30 visits before we got to add the cornerback in here later on this evening. But now you'll notice the players that are highlighted in gold there. That means top 30 visit, okay? And they also meet the athletic threshold, and they also were participants at the Senior Bowl. Does that make sense? So those 4 prospects that really pop out right now are Shamar Stewart, edge defender. Then you got to drop down to TJ Sanders, defensive tackle. Then Jacob Bayer, center from Arkansas State. And then Anthony Belton, offensive tackle from NC State. Those are the four that pop. And again, that means athletic threshold. They have not been disqualified from that, and they won't be. The testing is done, essentially. Top 30 visit, the athletic threshold, and, of course, the Senior Bowl. I want to get your all's thoughts on that because I think it's kind of cool to kind of identify those guys. Again, we narrowed it down to 7, and they drafted 2 of those. I'm going to – if I can find a site to actually put a little action on this year's draft, I'm going to bet everybody that ends up on the final list because usually the odds are really, really good.
You're going to hit a couple of them probably.
Probably will, and you'll come out.
Especially this guy right here, Arkansas. Let's go.
I actually was just going to bring that up, Tim, and obviously Clayton. If you would imagine a scenario like this, wherever he has them projected, we get him. Where do you guys have him on your board, and where do you realistically think that Jacob Bayer may fall or get drafted?
Let's see here, where I had it sorted like that earlier. Do it off. I know he's around the 100 mark. You're talking about Jacob Bayer, right?
Yes. So you're thinking maybe roughly 3rd or 4th. You could see him realistically going.
Jacob Bayer is in the 112 spot for us. Now his projection is like 5th, 6th.
Okay.
So just like we've got some players like Kyle Williams, we've got significantly lower that'll probably go much higher. In this case, we got Jacob Bayer significantly higher, but he'll probably go much lower. That makes sense.
Right.
That answers your question.
Yeah. Do you see the point I'm getting at is do you see them having a diamond in the rough type scenario, almost like the Jaden Reed thing, where in the picks in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, they really think that he could be a player that could help them? And if so, are they willing to cut a trade back and maybe get some more draft capital? And if they actually have that much faith in Jacob Bayer that he could be a starting center, is there any credence to the fact that they could plug and play him as a starting center as a rookie, allow Jenkins to go back to guard? We obviously signed Banks, so you're thinking they're definitely going to make Banks another guard. Does that force a competition at left tackle between Walker and Jordan Morgan? And are we more set at the offensive line than we maybe think we are, and we don't need as many late round? You know what I'm trying to say? Like that one pick from Jacob Bayer completely offset a lot of the needs at the offensive line position is what I'm asking. Yeah, no, for me, if I had to put money on it, if Jacob Bayer was drafted by the Packers, no matter what round, would he have a shot at winning the starting center job? Absolutely not. Yeah. That's me personally. I think it's a long shot they draft him. And you're going, Clayton, you just highlighted this. The reason he made this list, guys, is because he was a Senior Bowl participant and a top 30 visit, right? And for people that go, they'd never be interested in Jacob Bayer. Okay, hell of a smoke screen they sent there with that top 30 visit, right?
And keep in mind, it's okay to draft a guy, bring him to camp, and then you're not in love with him, and off he goes. You release him. It happens all the time. All the time,
yeah. And here's the thing, like that's narrowing the list down to 1, 2, 3, 4 players, right, that we've got now. Now, when you throw in the athletic threshold aspect of this, right, this is what you got to say. Although there are several more top 30 visits still to take place for the Packers, the short list right now includes Shamar Stewart and TJ Sanders, who check all 3 boxes. So that's that extra layer we added this year, okay? So of those 4 players, only Shamar Stewart and TJ Sanders check all 3 boxes, the athletic threshold, the top 30 visit, as well as Senior Bowl participants. So those are the 2 that I feel like are, boy, if the board falls just right, they'll probably jump all over. And there's nothing to say that they won't unless the interviewing and the testing process that's all kept private at Lambeau when they come in for the top 30 visits just goes absolutely horrible. And that could be the case. That could be the case for sure. So just wanted to kind of point that out. And again, when you look at those players, it's Shamar Stewart, he's in the 15 spot. TJ Sanders is in the 40 spot. Jacob Bayer's in the 112 spot. Again, he doesn't meet the athletic threshold because he's 6'2", but he was a top 30 visit. And then Anthony Belton at 145. So it kind of feels like first round, second round, third round, fourth round right there, don't it?
Yep. I like your logic though, Clayton.
Probably means
we're not saying they're going to draft all of these guys, but the likelihood is, that's the list you want to probably work from.
I bet you one of them, at least one out of 4. And I bet you at least 4 or 5 out of that whole grouping, or maybe, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's true.
Dave's MX6 Garcia says Donovan Jennings was a top 30 visit last year. He did get a nice UDFA bonus though. So that's the other thing is like, you're going to have some of these guys who meet the criteria that end up being UDFAs. We had some of those. That the draft picks is all I include. I didn't even include like Donovan Jennings, and I want to say there's a couple of like Omar Brown we ended up signing too. Remember?
Yep.
I think he was one that kind of fit not the entire threshold, but just another guy that was like I think he might have been a top 30. I could be wrong there, but anyway, it's just another way to look at the draft and look at the board and go, okay, I'm always trying to look at how can we zero the target in, and the athletic threshold might be a little too much added to it. But then again, I'm eager to see once we get that final list down. If that takes a list from a 7 to 10 down to 2 to 6, and they end up drafting 3 of those 6, I'm going to be pretty fired up about it. So H.E. Soder with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, what we really need is for the Titans or Browns to pass on quarterback and then look to move back up. Great chance to trade back. Steelers are the problem. That's very interesting because this whole time I'm going, man, I want as many quarterbacks taken before the Packers pick. But that's a great point. If Shedeur Sanders falls, and it sounds like he's slipping right now, if he does fall and someone wants to climb back up, trade up to 23, that's a great point, Soder. And for a quarterback, people will overpay if they really like that quarterback. They will give maximum draft capital there. So since we're on the topic here, no, matter of fact, let's make that a separate topic if we can. I was going to bring up the whole Deion Sanders thing. I heard Ryan talking about it earlier today.
Yeah. Did you catch his pod this morning?
Yeah, I got through that part. I don't know if I finished the pod because like I said, we got rained out, but I did hear his take on that. And I think my take is going to be way different than his and probably way different than your all's as well. But again, thank you for the super chat, Soder. That's a great point. I didn't even look at it that way, man. Is there anything else you guys want to hit on here with what we've covered? Jacob, did you have any other questions or other comments like you had mentioned with Jacob Bayer? I honestly don't see him being able to win a starting job if the Packers do draft him late. I think that they want to go with Rasheed Walker. They want to go with, Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins. I think they want Jordan Morgan to win that right guard job, but if it's Sean Ryan, so be it. And then, of course, right tackle, the stud Zach Thomas about to get the bag. Do you think there's a shot, Jacob? You asked us. I want to ask you, man. Do you think there's a shot somebody like Jacob Bayer could win the starting job there?
Not realistically, no. I mean, honestly, like a 5 to 10% chance, barring an injury. Another possibility would be like if Monk just comes up and all of a sudden it's like this guy is the future center. And like I just want the best 5 out there, so I just am trying to fiddle with scenarios and find out. But just to put a cap on this convo, Coach Len says Belton seems like a classic late round pick by Goody. He really, really does, especially if he were to fall even farther than that 4th or 5th round projection. I just really, really like the way that guy, he just everything about him that we did that deep dive on him. It seems more and more likely if there was one of the 4, it seems like that dude I'd put my big money on.
Yeah.
And like going back to Bayer too, like that's a guy that might be able to like play his way onto the team and perhaps get himself a spot as a backup. But yeah, winning the starting spot probably out of the question at this point.
Definitely. All right. There you go, guys. Again, just a little update on kind of what to look for in terms of the prospects that we think